I foolishly listened to a different radio station. I'm like, oh, well, let's see what they're talking about on the sports talk today. Normally, I listen to, and I'm not going to name either of them, I listen to the Elder Statesman station that has been on AM for a long time and has added an FM channel to it. That's normally where I go, okay, to get, let's see what they're talking about and we'll give my take on it. They were promoting a concert somewhere or something, and I was like, yeah, all right.
TV show, I heard, because I did switch to that show, a White Lotus, but now I'm actually going to go home and watch White Lotus tonight, so shout out to them. Wasn't what I was expecting, though. So
instead, I'm like, well, let me go to the other primarily only FM station that came up a handful of years ago in the Bay Area, and it was uncomfortable. It was everything I avoid on talk radio. It's why I often haven't listened. It only recently have I gotten back into, all right, let me try listening and see what I can get out of that to help my own game.
I have been a champion of said station since 2014. And then especially when I got into broadcasting and back to school. But I didn't need coffee this morning.
Yeah.
Listening to the time that I did listen. And I did check back in Jeff Garcia, a very good 49er, a very smart man.
Okay.
Echoed everything I've been saying. Okay. And that's really all I needed to hear. A little validation that I'm not going crazy with my level-headed understanding of the game. And everybody who knows the game has been saying what I am, and people are choosing to ignore it and fanboy out. And it's just not, it's ridiculous. Nonsensical.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me.
So the big hubbub is, of course, about Trey Lance.
They got a new quarterback?
I think so.
Jesus.
I want to preface this that anything you may say, Bab, that is like, well, hey, let's temper it with Trey Lance, should also be accompanied by the fact that he was atop your big board. You know, you had him up there at 1A, 1B with Fields. And so I don't want it to seem like you're slamming the kid at any
point. Not at all.
When you're just trying to put a little realism out there.
Absolutely. And the only thing Trey Lance has showed you, when I'm talking about practice, is that they made the right pick.
Right.
You know, and that was their plan going into the draft. Jimmy G has had health issues. Everybody knows that. Yeah. I will not predict his health going into 2021. That's ridiculous in football. You don't do that.
No.
Now, can you say he's injury prone? I don't really think so. Last year was the O-line failed him a lot last year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see, last year the O-line was suspect in a lot of snaps, and nobody talked about that. They just want to talk about Jimmy getting hit and getting injured, holding onto the ball too long, blah, blah, blah. The only thing Trey has showed is he's going to be a fantastic quarterback in this league, but that's not going to happen in 2021.
He has shown he has the skill set to have earned his place in the draft.
Yes.
Let's go with that. You know, my kind of little doubt was two things that I saw in film where it's like, oh boy, I didn't like some of these underthrows, some of these misses. And then when I revisited, I'm like, well, here's what you got to hope is the coaching staff has already had these workouts with him and said, okay, so here's what you were doing wrong on this underthrow against UC Davis.
Yeah.
You have to fix this by doing this. Let me see you do that 5 or 6 times. He did it. Okay. Right? That's what you that happens in these workouts. That's what happens in the pre-draft process. Okay, here's where you missed this guy when watching the film with him. What should you have done? Well, I probably should have done this instead. Good. Okay. There were probably some things that cleaned up that I had only seen on the film that they've gotten more out of with the meetings with him and workouts with him. That was my only knock, and it was, you kind of figure that's coming along then.
Yeah, I first heard this, and it is something I will now continue to use probably forever. And it came from Dave Fleming, who talked to Yaz Yastrzemski at batting practice and noticed that there were 2 pitching machines set up, one for a nasty slider and the other one for a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. And, Fleming was like, why? And Yaz said, practice dirty, play clean.
Yeah.
If I see these nasty pitches coming at me, then I can better adjust for them in game. And then, I don't have to worry about a fastball down the middle or an off-speed pitch that I already know I can hit.
Yeah.
But I'm going to practice the tough parts of the game. And we're seeing that. Even in the preseason game, Trey Lance wasn't perfect. He wasn't. In fact, he wasn't even really that great.
No.
And that 80-yard touchdown throw, it was a duck. And he was back there. He scrambled a little bootleg out to the opposite side.
Yeah.
It was a great read and a great throw. But it says just as much about Sherfield as it does about Trey Lance because it was broken coverage. He had 3 strides on the safety and the DB.
He beat a rookie out of Western Kentucky, on the plays. There's some second team stuff we got to factor in a little bit.
There is. And you also have to understand he's not getting these first team reps that everybody thinks like starting week 1. Yeah, okay. With guys that he doesn't practice with.
Yeah.
Like what kind of sense does that make? And again, Trey Lance, he's exciting.
Yeah.
And this is something that we're going to see play out down the road. Don't expect to see it play out in 2021. It just, you're not going to have a $26 million a year quarterback sitting behind a rookie.
Yeah.
That just, what kind of sense does that make?
So there was one other knock I had that it's coming back to me now about, I don't know, Kyle Shanahan said Kaepernick didn't fit his offense back then. And now they're drafting a guy kind of similar, better throwing mechanics, but nonetheless, there's, okay. And I wanted to go back to that. Some of the big splashy plays Kaepernick made some of the first times he got on the field. I'm like, do you not remember this? Do you guys not remember that? Is that out of your memories? People have just short-term memories. They don't remember, the big fanfare they gave some of his big splash plays early on, and then 4 years later they're crapping on him. Okay, can you keep that cycle in mind for me? In this process.
Keep that same energy, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to this preseason game, yes, there were 3 drops on receiver hands.
Yeah.
There were also 3 drops by DBs that 2 of them clearly could have been a pick 6. And where were you at then?
Yeah.
Right? And okay, yes, receivers dropped. DBs dropped. Like it's a preseason game. Like you don't make roster decisions this big off of practice in one preseason game. It's just I get wanting to be excited. I was excited to watch the game on Saturday, but I was also looking through a sense lens. I'm losing my words here. I'm so frustrated. If I take any pauses today, it's so I don't do my first cuss word on a broadcast. That's just how worked up I am over this. And yes, he's going to be great in 2022.
Yeah. And I think I haven't seen this much preseason over analysis in a while. But I remember back when I had the Raiders Finest Hour podcast, and we'd break things down from the all-22 shot, which wasn't always available in the preseason. That's tough. But I remember Derek Carr having one good preseason game, 2013, and next thing you know, he's the starter. 2 years later, he's the dude we all thought, it's a B-plus Pro Bowlish quarterback now. Yeah, that's who he is. But he wasn't then. But he looked like it in a preseason game, and there were some major growing pains. Now the Niners are much further along in putting a decent team together than those Raiders were. Dennis Allen would get fired in week 4 after an awful game in London against the Dolphins. One thing, Tim Stradamus was in on that one. I remember blowing my co-host Todd's mind away about, I think this is going to go really poorly, this game in London. I think Dennis Allen gets fired afterwards. Oh, what? Yeah, well, that's what happened.
Isn't it fun when your sports takes pan out?
Yeah.
I'm not an arrogant person. I'm not trying to talk myself up. Yeah. But I got a pretty darn good record when it comes to trusting what I see and being able to analyze it from a non-fanboy perspective. Now, all of you out there know, Giants fan, I'm an A's fan, I'm a Niner fan, I'm a Warrior fan. But look at my takes. They make sense. And that's my whole thing is you have to make sense with this and not be nonsensical. Now, I can remember in recent history 3 fantastic quarterbacks that didn't play their rookie year. And they sat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to rattle off Tom Brady. What's that guy? Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, Patrick Mahomes, who signed the biggest contract in NFL history. And none of them played their first year.
No.
Right? Now, if Jimmy gets hurt, Trey will play the field because Josh Rosen is not an NFL quarterback. He's somebody that you plug in if you have to pull your QB out for a few series, and then you put him back. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Like Josh Rosen showed you on Saturday that he's just not the hype that he had coming out of college. Remember that? Remember Josh Rosen was going to be a great NFL quarterback, and now he's a third stringer.
Yeah.
I also heard, and I've heard this a lot, and this makes sense, right? The San Francisco 49ers, if healthy, are a Super Bowl contending team.
Sure.
I've also heard that Trey Lance is the best quarterback on the team, but he would not be competing for a Super Bowl. So why would you waste that winning now and developing your quarterback? Matt Ryan took a full season to learn Shanahan's playbook.
Yeah.
That's all we ever hear is how difficult his playbook is. After a year, MVP went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jimmy G, his first full season healthy, went to the Super Bowl. And that was after a season and a half of learning the playbook.
Yeah.
Like, it just, what are we doing? Honestly, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of, the performance on the Saturday evening game for Trey Lance against the Chiefs, where he was 5 of 14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've talked about the drops, but you've also noted the drop picks as well. And again, Steven had him up high on the big board. I think he deserves where he was picked. but here's the thing. I can't get that worked up about, a bootleg where he stood there a while.
Yeah, about 5 seconds of clean 5 seconds.
Oh, my goodness. He had a ton of time.
The nearest DN to him was about 6 yards.
Man, a ton of time. Waits for the DB to cut across, for the receiver to cut across, beat a rookie out of Western Kentucky. Makes the throw and goes downfield. If he can't, I'd heard this stuff about such a rare commodity to be able to make that 50-yard throw down the field. What? That's sort of standard. Okay, I need to see
NFL
this.
Quarterback stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you can't throw 50 in the air, you've got some arm strength knock against you that has to be compensated with incredible accuracy and knowledge. If you can't throw 50 in the air, there better be something else about you that is special. 2 or 3 other things about you better be special. This is standard. This is 93 being the new 90 in baseball, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right, I get it. So he made that play. He got sacked 4 times, one of them on him in the red zone. PFF, of the 5, first-round rookies that played this past weekend, Pro Football Focus, I don't always completely agree with their grading, but it is a good system that they try to apply to it. Guess who got the lowest grade of them?
Yeah.
It was Trey Lance, the guy who was 5 of 14. I don't, that was nice. Okay, we got to see, there it was. We got to see it. There's the thing, I think it's because we didn't get to see much of his college game, that anything we see out of him, look at that throw. This is the guy. They need to play him right now. Okay. What did you feel about Alex Smith versus Kaepernick?
Mm-hmm.
And would you make this big reaction right away? So there were a couple of splashy plays from a guy who was 5 of 14.
Yeah.
I just want to keep that one going here right now. And, Kyle Shanahan talked about some things. It wasn't perfect. I'm glad it wasn't perfect because I know there's some stuff we can work on. There's some misreads. There's some yards and some points he left out there. And as I'm tuning into, we're going to crap on these 2 media outlets who we think are covering this very poorly. One, the major paper of the San Francisco Bay Area. The other, the solely FM radio station, sports talk station in the Bay Area. As I'm giving a go, listening to the FM station on the way in, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's nonsensical again. It's one guy, just kind of a guy who won a reality show to be on there is just going off talking about, this is the later portion where he contradicts himself. He's like, and Jimmy G, okay, he's 3-3. I get it with the check downs. Like, come on. It's a preseason. These numbers don't matter. Oh, I want to see you take a shot deep on 3rd and 15. Oh, and then if he's doing that in a practice where he's taking some shots and throws 5 picks, then that's the reason for him to be pulled out. He's just, one against the other, contradicting himself with this. It's major NFL heads, or you can call me a fanboy all you want, but this is real NFL analysts talking about this. Skip and Shannon Sharp's talking about he should be starting right away. Captain Cold Take himself, Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp, who also is a fanboy for certain people.
Isn't he, though? Isn't he, though? He can miss me with that. He can miss me. He lost, not that I ever liked the former Denver Bronco, but he lost to me with the Kevin Durant, Bob Myers talk about him getting injured. Oh, he couldn't even give me crocodile tears, talking about fainting for his injury. When KD will come out and say, no, I pushed to try to get back for game 5.
Yeah.
And he's trying to say, I don't trust team doctors. Are like, it's the coldest take I've heard, and I've lost him ever since. I gave it a shot that time, and I was done with it.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Low Neal. Should be a Hall of Fame fullback. Okay. I like Low Neal. Yeah. Let's dial that one down, too. He's talking about, wow, Trey Lance the one breaking the huddle. Jimmy G's over there doing his own thing with in his workouts. They got Trey Lance the one breaking with the receiver group. Well, that says a lot right there. Like, I could also say that the head coach is a pretty smart guy who knows, okay, I need to get this kid's feet wet.
Yep.
Now, that's what these games are for. Jimmy already knows what we're doing. Let's get him used to breaking the huddle. Let's get him used to that. Like a kid, some reliever you brought up that's brand new, kid, non-save situation. Well, let's get him a feel for those handshakes in the 9th.
Yeah. To
win that 7-1 game that we're just having them close out. Just overhype and contradicting themselves. And it's got to be for this. It's got to be to make people call in, to get you all worked up to tweet them, to get on the text line. That's all this
Shock
stuff
radio.
has been about.
This is WFAN.
Yeah.
Shock radio. That's exactly what First Take does. That's exactly what Skip and Shannon do. I'm going to give you listeners out there a little hint. If the person is yelling and screaming, it's just like in life. It's because there's really nothing there.
Yeah.
Those who talk the loudest usually have the less amount to say, right? The less actual credible points that they're making, the louder they talk. I think that's especially true in sports talk radio, because you're exactly right. I'm not going to down this station as a whole.
Okay.
But there's a big reason why they are no longer number one. It has to do with programming, and it has to do with the things that they're doing on air. They have gone from credibility to taking 4 steps back, and now it's about this Shock Talk radio, listening to the post game. Like, actually, no, I did not listen to the post game because I was told about it and told enough about it that there was 0 chance I was going to tune in on Saturday. And there's another person at this radio station who I actually know really well. Created a podcast network with him last year. He's gotten his chance to be on air. Love him for that. Wow. How much of a mistake that was, for him to have won that competition, a competition that I should have won, but I wasn't even actually invited. I was invited down, not to participate, but because I was that respected, invited down to watch. And I was told it was because I was already technically a professional broadcaster.
Right.
I had already made money working for the Admirals. I already on a radio show. There was no way that they were going to slip me through these rookies. Because
that's in the fine print. People, oh, Tim, why didn't you sign? Well, here's the deal with that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I am this great, guy after 3 years in the minors going up. I'm not saying that, but that chance was pulled for me, and that's I've never come out and publicly said that, but that's exactly why. Is because I've actually earned money with the Admirals and been on the radio.
That is why. That was in the fine print. Yep. And it's there, and it's real. It's why it's some amateur that's going to win that thing every time. In fact, there was somebody I talked to at KMBR that I know, and he wasn't aware of that detail even about, if you have any professional broadcast experience, you can't apply for those reality show contest things. Let's go ahead and crap on the other media outlet I want to talk about here that's doing this again. We talked about how the local major San Francisco paper versus the local cable network that covers the 49ers are covering this differently. Rusty Simmons, he has a headline that says, 49ers Kyle Shanahan adds to Trey Lance hype after reviewing NFL debut video. Did he? Okay. All right, let's go into the article here. Kyle Shanahan had 17 hours to watch the video, process the information, and possibly diffuse excitement after Trey Lance's professional debut Saturday night. Instead, the 49ers head coach only fed the hype machine Sunday afternoon. Okay. Before the 49ers reported back to their Santa Clara facility, Shanahan said he couldn't wait to watch the video and with Lance and considered his immediate chances of working with the starting offense. Okay, this is all just from Rusty Simmons himself. Here's the actual quote from Kyle Shanahan. Almost all of the plays, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm real excited to watch with Trey. It was good to have him out there, but I can't wait to watch it with him so we can get his eyes on the right spots and catch him up on everything. Did you hear anything in there about putting him in the first team?
Do you know what excites him? Teachable moments.
Yeah.
Developing a young rookie quarterback. Getting him maybe first reps. Okay, I could see that in preseason games.
Yeah.
That means nothing. Honestly, Jimmy G's got reps with the first team. Why not throw a rookie in there to get reps?
So the writer again is insinuating or inferring that Coach Shanahan is considering his immediate chances of working with the starting offense. That is the line of the third paragraph in this article. He is considering his chances of working with the starting offense. In this quote I just gave from Kyle Shanahan, though, nothing would suggest that. Here's another quote from Kyle Shanahan. We all know that Trey has the ability to play well and do some special things being in practice. You saw a little bit in the game, but that's not playing quarterback in the NFL. You have to have the ability to get into the club, but it's how you respond to adversity and how you can play over the course of a game. It's not just about going out there and keeping both teams in the game. You have to go out there and find a way to win it for one team. Okay? Plays like that have Shanahan trying to define for himself when he'll move Lance into the starting job. A situation that the head coach described as, when I think it feels right, when he seems ready, when I think the team seems ready. Notice the two different tones I'm reading. Kyle Shanahan's, when the team feels, when I think it's ready.
Levity.
When I think his team's ready. Shanahan says he plans to mix in Lance in the first team reps, but he doesn't plan on doing that exclusively just yet. Shanahan is still trying to examine team subtleties, practice situations, and game action in making the decision. Plus, he has to consider the incumbent. Garoppolo completed all 3 of his passes against the Chiefs. Oh, you do need to consider that. Again, what Kyle Shanahan's saying to the inference from the writer doesn't match for me.
It doesn't. And one of the things that I really enjoy about Bay Area sports, there's a lot of, they say what they mean. You don't have to read between the lines a lot. Now, are they guarded about some, team strategy? Sure.
A little draft smoke screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit before a draft. But when anybody in the front office out of all your Bay Area team sports speak, you need to take them at their word because they are being honest with you. They are giving you a peek behind their curtain. That's how they do business. And it's just, you see it with Warriors fans too, and what Bob Myers said. And I expect fans on Twitter, I've come to expect that they don't take people at their word anymore. That they're just gonna, fan out and do what they think. I don't expect that from professionals.
Yeah.
You literally have the words quoted in your article and you talk about nothing in that quote. And you're a professional writer that gets paid to do this. What are you doing? Look at the media nationwide these last few years. What has really drawn its divisiveness? And it's a clear cut both sides. And then the truth is in the middle, right?
Right.
Now you're starting to see it leak into sports. Why? For clicks. And you know what? You shouldn't. Yes, clicks are important. We got to get paid. There's ad money, whatever. But at the risk of your credibility as a professional, you would not ever want to do that before. Why risk your credibility just so you can yell and get clicks? You're losing me and you're losing serious fans of sports. I had a buddy, Ryan, today, and he was like, dude, what is even going on in life right now? He's like, I had to tune out. I was like, I almost never tune out, ever. Even if I'm getting upset or I don't agree, that's just fun, kind of back and forth, but this is just nonsensical. I had another buddy hit me up on the DM oh my God. I miss Kate Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his quote.
Yeah.
And I echoed it.
Let's go ahead and get the national media in on this one, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yahoo Sports.
Yahoo!
Who make this comparison. It's kind of started even with Derek Carr. Strangely, again, he's like a Ferrari. He's a Ferrari. We got to, get him out there. He's a Ferrari ready to go. Okay, well, does the Ferrari drive itself? I just can't, Garoppolo's, nice, steady Honda Civic, get you from point A to point B, real reliable, but why would you if you got the Ferrari ready in the garage, why would you not drive that? Okay, well, let's tackle a couple of things in this terrible
Yeah, I got a few things too.
If I were to compare Trey Lance to a Ferrari, I would say, yeah, he's got the big engine. He's got the shiny red paint job, the nice look on the exterior of the car. But it's not off the assembly line yet. This car isn't done. It's been ordered. Got your order. You've paid for it already. But it's not done. Like, the steering isn't complete yet. The GPS and the computer are certainly not completely loaded in. Okay? So, who's driving the car?
Head coach.
Right. So, the rookie car can't drive himself. Like, it's just an awful analogy that I can't get. Like, well, okay, who's driving the car? Is the car by itself? If the car is driving itself, until it has proper programming from Tesla or whoever about how to drive itself, the Honda Civic must be self-driving then, because it knows where it's going. Like, I'm sorry, I can't.
What's wrong with dependability?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna a little insight to Ferraris. They're great cars. Mm-hmm. They're expensive. You know what else they do? They break down a lot. So that flashy Ferrari that you're running out there behind what can sometimes be a suspect O-line is going to get your Ferrari broken down. You know what else they are? Incredibly expensive on maintenance. Not even sticker price, on maintenance to maintain.
They're incredibly fast, but they aren't necessarily built for all terrains.
The ride is horrible in a Ferrari.
Really? You think so?
All sports cars.
Oh, okay.
Because the suspension is so hard. They're meant for the track. They're not meant for potholes. The ride is incredibly uncomfortable in every single sports car. And that's the one thing, is you're not in it for the comfort. You're not in it for the long haul like you would be a Civic.
Yeah.
Gas mileage is horrible.
Yeah.
How expensive is gas? I would take a Honda Civic right now over a Ferrari. In fact, I just bought a 95 Accord to commute with.
There you go.
Yeah, 284,000 miles. Guess what? It still runs like a top.
Yeah.
The interior is immaculate. And that is going to be my commuter. Would I commute in a Ferrari? Nope.
Right.
That's, again, nonsensical.
Yeah, cars that are driven by a human versus the human. Like, the team is maybe a Ferrari.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right? Isn't that the proper analogy more so?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, we saw Colin Kaepernick could have been called a Ferrari compared to Alex Smith's Civic.
Yeah.
Who had the better career?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And Alex Smith got the short end of a stick for the first 7 years. Like, let's just be honest. The kid, the team was horrible.
New coordinator every year is bad.
And it wasn't his fault. Yeah. He did what he could with what he had. And not only just the coordinator, the team around him was not very good. Mm-hmm. And, the team around Garoppolo this year is going to be very good. Mm-hmm. That's it.
So, my ultimate takeaway on this, if you want to put a rookie quarterback from an FCS school
who played one college game,
who played his season in his sophomore year, the 19 season.
Yeah,
he played like a game or two, or maybe before deciding to step out and declare for the draft in that second season. If you would have plugged him in to a team with playoff aspirations after one preseason game against a second unit where he is 5 of 14 and gets the lowest PFF grade of all the rookies who played that day, you shouldn't be talking about this. You should probably have your social media taken away from you. You should probably have your talk show taken away from you. Okay?
And there's a reason why you're not a GM.
Yeah.
Because you would make horrible decisions at every left turn based on overreactions and not actually based on what you're seeing. And you can tell when they start to contradict themselves, their credibility is shot.
Yes. And didn't some experts later come on to their show?
Yes.
For some backpedaling like they were freaking Merton Hanks?
They literally were so quiet with their hot takes when Jeff Garcia got on. Jeff Garcia said literally everything I said.
Okay.
And last time we were on the Blitz, it was a Monday. That following Friday, Kyle Shanahan had a press conference. He must listen to the Blitz because he said word for word everything that I said. What, Taysom Hill package? Yes. Will Trey Lance see the field in certain situations?
Yeah.
as a wrinkle to the offense, not as a starter in the offense. And just if you want to touch on quarterbacks real quick, I'd actually like to talk about the rest of the team if you'd like.
Go ahead.
The DBs are not going to be as bad as everybody says.
Yeah.
That defensive secondary has got some young hitters. And, I forget the Polynesian safety. He's going to be a stud.
Okay.
It might take him a little bit to put it together and to really learn the defensive schemes, especially with a new coordinator. But this defensive secondary is going to be way better than what everybody thinks. And you've got starters that didn't even play. And these guys are coming up. They were sure tackling. They were making reads. They were breaking up passes. And they just looked really good. Running back room, so stout. They're going to have a tough time figuring out who they're going to keep, which is not a bad thing because there could be a trade piece in there because they all have ability to play in this league. Also, wide receiver room. They've got 6 that could start right now. 1 through 3, 1 through 4. So they're going to have to figure out who to plug and play there. They got Mohamed Sanu, which we didn't see. They've got other pieces, which again, everybody they have in their wide receiver room right now has ability, which potentially could be a trade piece. So if you want to do a deep dive and you want to get analytical in what this team's going to do, that's what you should be looking at. You should also be looking at this offensive line.
That's
how
what I
it
wanted to ask
might
you
be.
about, yeah.
It might be a patchwork deal, which is not going to be good for whoever is under center because they paid Trent Williams a huge contract.
Yeah.
Trent Williams got beat a good amount of times. I didn't think he was that deserving of that money.
Yeah.
Now, on his previous years, yeah, absolutely. Sure. But he's coming off of one not so great season. He did pretty good in 2019. Yeah. But then you got guys like Brunskill, McGlinchey. They're getting beat for whatever reason. And maybe it's because the guy to the right and their left are second stringers. Okay, I'll give you that. But we also see this O-line go down a lot with injuries. So you're going to have to play with second stringers at some point this season. That's just part of football. And you're not able to cohesively get it together. And we saw them not be able to cohesively get it together almost all last season. So pump your brakes. The D-line, oh my gosh, this is going to be the star of the team because they are about 3 deep at every single position. And so they're going to be able to be fresh, plug and play with guys that are just beasts and nasty on that front line.
And I think maybe more time should give us a little better idea than maybe making your evaluations on the first preseason game. I just want to tell you, just as somebody who's to, watch preseason games in triplicate to figure out who these second and third teamers are, to give my little scouting report on the finest hour. Man, you need to do that brake pumping that on your Ferrari or your Civic that Bab just talked about.
That's literally all that you do in the preseason. You find out who your second, third, and possibly practice squad guys are, who you're going to keep. You don't create your 53-man roster after one preseason game and a handful of practices. It's just not how it's done. And how it's done, look at the Giants, look at the Niners, look at the Warriors. They tell you exactly how they do things. They tell you exactly how they do it. So listen to them and then make your predictions or formulate your ideas based on what they're telling you. Yeah. Take them at their word. There's no reason to read between the lines with them. This isn't like New York. This isn't like another market where you have to deal with double talk. They've proven over and over and over that they don't do that. Right. So why are they doing it now?
Especially once you have accumulated success, you have no need. You can just kind of say, yeah, that's what we're doing because we like what we're doing. It's worked.
It's our philosophy.
Yeah, it's worked already. My favorite one of the Twitter doesn't trust. Find this one sometime. This is the one that'll always stick out for me with fans thinking they know better or not trusting the source on Twitter. Or one was an injury update involving a Toronto Blue Jays player. This may be a year ago now, maybe 2 years, and it's still my favorite tweet to this day. And they give an update. This is going to happen, and this fan starts this back and forth in the thread with them, and says, well, "What's your source?" The reply is, literally us, the Toronto Blue Jays, from the official account.
Yeah. Do we need a source?
It's us, the Blue Jays. We are the source.
Yeah. That's like asking Farhan Zaidi. So,
hey, what's your source on that?
Yeah. My source?
Me?
Yeah, I'm the president of ops. It's kind of the buck stops with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay away from the junk food. I know Dubs fans, Warrior fans, had a little consternation post-draft, wondering, there was a whole warning from some blogosphere types about, don't draft Jonathan Kuminga. Don't draft Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, the word on him was raw, which he has all 5 tools, but he's raw.
I got one flaw.
Yeah.
And it's the jumper. Okay, it is the jump shot. It's a little ugly, in fact. It's full-on ugly. But his free throw percentage is pretty good. Like, he looks smooth, and there's nice rotation on his free throws. So that leads me to believe they can teach him up. They can coach up his jumper. You can't teach talent. You got that or you don't. You can improve skills. You can get stronger. And certain physical things you can improve. But it's a lot easier to teach a skill than to teach talent.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why they went with him at 7.
Absolutely. They made the right pick. And it looks like they made the right pick with Moody too. But going back to Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, we'll talk about Moody next.
Yeah, going back to Jonathan Kuminga, he's got athleticism. He is a long 6'8" wing player, which is going to be great, especially the way the Warriors are constructed. Now, his shot can be taught. Like, he can develop that. I mean, you add 5 more percentage points to it, and that's all you really need, which isn't a huge jump from where he's at now. And being on a team with shooters like Steph and Clay, you're going to want to develop that because you're going to want to fit in better, and you're going to want to fit into the scheme better. Also, he doesn't really need to shoot from the outside. That's not going to be really asked of him. And as long as he can hit one every once in a while, that'll keep the defense honest. But you literally have the best shooter maybe in history. I mean, that's not really much of an argument anymore. And Klay Thompson coming back. You don't really need your rookie shooting from the perimeter because you're going to have guys that can already do that. And Wiggins can do that.
Yeah.
So that's 3 guys on the floor already that you don't have to worry about Kuminga's outside shot.
That's kind of 2 guys who are proof right there. Jordan Poole, Wiggins weren't necessarily the best outside shooters to start their career. And now you trust them to chuck some threes out there.
Yeah, and you don't need him to go 4 for 4.
Yeah.
5 for 6. Like, you just need him to hit a few because that keeps the defense honest and it keeps the floor spread out for the rest of the team.
With Kuminga, it is just that one flaw. It is just the ugly jumper. Otherwise, he uses the glass really well. He's good at driving, positioning, getting into a location where the defender is pinned a little bit, either via some crossovers, some hesitations, then to the dribble drive. Then next thing you know, he's 3 feet away from the basket. The defender doesn't have a good angle on him, and he's kissing it off the window for a bucket. I saw that a lot. People talked about the rawness, but there seems to be a defensive IQ already. He plays the passing lanes well. He switches defensively well, which we even talked about. Well, this might be the thing he contributes right away. Good switch defender, knowing how the Warriors play defense, kind of that positionless defense. They switch on the picks a lot. Okay, he seems ready for this already. And then I've seen more of it. Like, I get he's playing fellow rookies, and there's even just sprinkles of actual draft picks out there. I don't expect him to look like this. The scouting report will develop quickly on him in the NBA versus where he's going. But it seems like there's enough of an array of dribble drive moves to have some scoring with that. And seems to pass well. The defense, I think, is the thing that makes him playable right away, along with being able to drive to the bucket. And teams will play off of him, is the thing. If you don't develop the jumper, that's the one concern. But like you said, it doesn't need to be 3-pointers as much as maybe some 18-foot game would be nice, right? You know what I'm saying? So, NBA starting defenses will get used to him. But, man, there's times where I think this about Giannis. Like, you know what he's going to do. He's going to go here. And, man, they still can't stop that. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's an element to it. It's like, okay, you kind of get the idea what he's going to do. And you still can't do anything about it. And he's not as big as Giannis, not the same, but nonetheless, there was enough defensive IQ and enough of an array of moves to go with the explosiveness, just the raw athletic ability. Even if you still need to develop the jumper, the size and strength is tough to teach. And he doesn't seem like I already have to crap on in just Summer League. Kendrick Perkins' whole reminds him of Jordan Bell nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not they're not the same.
Not even close.
Not even close after actually watching them. It's like, all right, I don't like Kendrick Perkins. I don't trust his opinion. But I guess maybe that's a possibility. And then after watching them all, no, Jordan Bell never showed anything like this.
No. And Jordan Bell was an athletic project.
Yeah.
I mean, where'd you pick him?
Second round, right?
Yeah. And so how many second rounders are starting in the NBA, let alone still on the bench?
There's a reason why Jokic was the first one ever drafted that low to win an MVP, right?
Yeah, and it's just you have to see what you're looking at. And what I like from Kuminga is he seems to have the intelligence, and you touched on his basketball IQ. Like I don't think he's going to play lost out there.
No, it didn't seem like it.
And which is really big in this type of system, right? Because we've seen rookies come in and have a little bit of an adjustment period and a little bit of a lag time. But what we're seeing from him, I think, warrants the number 7 pick. And that's, kind of like with Trey Lance. They made the right pick. Let these players develop into what we think they're going to be and not just expect them to have their ceiling in year one. You're not going to hit your ceiling. It doesn't matter what sport or what position in year one. Buster Posey was brought up this morning. I'm going to use this as a loose analogy because you can't compare NFL, NBA, MLB. But Buster Posey came out and had a fantastic rookie season. Where did Buster Posey play the 3-4 years before that?
Right.
Yeah, in AAA.
Yeah.
You're looking at guys that last year didn't get a lot of playing time. We're in a pandemic. And so I think the Summer League this year is going to be really good for these guys. And it's unfortunate that Wiseman is injured because he could have really benefited from a Summer League and a preseason last year, which both he didn't get.
Yeah.
And he still gave you almost 12 and 5?
Yeah. And he's down there. He's watching. So he's at least around it
exactly
to take in the scheme and all that, because that's what he needs more than anything. And know what moves to try and what not to try. He cracks me up when he tries some of his high school moves out there.
You know what? I am actually a lot higher on James Wiseman than almost anybody, except for maybe my homie Mark Spears.
Okay.
Mark Spears before the draft labeled him possibly Kevin Garnett would be his ceiling, right? He could be a Kevin Garnett type player, which I heard that, and then I started watching and I started seeing certain things, and watching this last season, I could totally see that happening. Yeah. And Kevin Durant was not great his rookie year. He was fresh out of high school, so it's even more of a similar comparison because Garnett, sorry, because James Wiseman is so young. That's a comparable comparison.
Yeah.
And going back to Kuminga, Moody, and you can throw Wiseman in there. I honestly, and I've tweeted this, I even pinned it to my Twitter, I could see them developing this as the next core 3 behind the current core 3. How often does any professional franchise get the opportunity to have this many high draft picks to be able to develop behind 3 superstars?
Yeah.
And to be honest, they are getting older, but Clay, Steph, and Dre are still superstars in this league.
Yeah. And agreed. And I'm still high on Wiseman.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of the trade talk about him.
Dumb.
I was like, why would you do that already? And it's like, you figure everything about him suggests 20 and 10 at some point. Like, everything kind of, okay, well, just get the kid some time. And he does look that way. I'm surprised, but no, I'm not. Never mind.
Yeah.
The impatience of our day. Is not
microwave society.
Yeah.
Look what James Wiseman did with no ramp up. In fact, had COVID or was on the protocol to start the year, got injured a lot, and he still had the raw ability to do what he did.
There's still some shining 20-something point games in there.
Imagine once he gets more comfortable in the system. Imagine once the Warriors are completely healthy and he's able to practice with a full healthy squad. Imagine what he'll be able to give you now, another year matured, a year of experience in the league. I really think his sophomore year is going to be, I'm not going to say breakout, but much, much improved.
I remember Warriors fans thought Draymond Green was going to be nothing. Do you remember? Warriors fans crapped on Draymond his first 2 years. And now he's the heart and soul of the team. So just, again, keep these shifts in mind.
Yeah, that's another thing, too, is I hear a lot about win now. Okay. But you don't have to win now. Well, this team has given you 5 straight finals appearances and 3 rings.
You just signed Steph to an extension, right?
Yeah. I have been a fan since 1988. There is one thing I can say about this ownership group and the front office. They will not sit on their hands. No. They will do everything they possibly can to put the best product on the floor. They will also not make stupid decisions based on fan base and Twitter. You know, there's a reason why there's Twitter GMs and then there's actual paid GMs. And they just aren't going to do that. But they will kick the tires everywhere because that's what good front offices do. You kick the tires on a possibility. That doesn't mean you're even going to go that direction. It just means, hey, why not? Why not kick the tires over here? And that's just the way that they do things. And again, Bob Myers was on the radio last week talking about how they've done things. And he's one of the most candid people in sports. And he will tell you, he's such a straight shooter. I've met Bob Myers twice.
Okay.
I've had conversations with him on 2 separate occasions. He is one of the nicest, most honest, direct, straightforward. You just get a good sense of feeling around this guy. And that translates to the team. Look at the character of these guys. You don't hear them getting in trouble. No. I mean, Clay is living his best life. As you do maybe some things that you're kind of like, oh, you kind of get in trouble for that at some point, you know, dating IG models or whatever.
Sure.
But you still don't see him in scandal.
No.
He's just having fun. He's single. He's young. He's rich. Like, go out on a yacht. Why not? I would.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're seeing these guys, the whole win now, they've already won. They've already won. This fan base that is so rabid, all of you booed Joe Lacob in 2011.
Yeah.
I was at that Chris Mullin retirement jersey. I was there in the house. I was a big Monte Ellis fan. And when they started booing, I got up from my seat in the 19th row. I went to the concourse and watched the rest of the ceremony from the concourse wearing my Chris Mullin jersey. I grew up loving Chris Mullin. I had a crew cut in 1990. And I didn't even watch the rest of his jersey retirement because I was that disgusted with a boo over a brand new owner that you had never given him any time to show you what he was going to do. That he bought that team for $425,000. It's worth $5 billion right now. 10 years, $5 billion. Yeah. So just temper your expectations. Try to have a little bit of an open mind, but don't knee-jerk react to every minute of every day.
I would say have realistic expectations about the flow of the industry, how roster churn works, how being at the top and perception happens.
Understanding money, too.
That, too. Quickly, let's talk Moses Moody after getting a chance to see him. You see why they paired these 2 picks together. Moody has the jump shot already.
Yeah.
Isn't the most athletic dude and really needs to work on his perimeter defense, but not the worst passer. His offense is very much ahead of his defense. Kind of the other way. They're sort of the flip of each other a little bit. But nonetheless, he's going to fill that floor spacing role.
Yeah, and you know, even if he's number 8, 9 on your bench, what's wrong with that? Let him develop. Let him get some time in. And like I said, you had James Wiseman, lottery, Kuminga at 7, Moody at 14. That is an incredible look to your future. Yeah. Just incredible because you don't see that often. And the Warriors had 2 down years due to injuries. That's the only reason why is due to injuries. But how fortunate to get these picks. Think about the Spurs. Think about Tim Duncan.
That one, yep.
You know, David Robinson happens to get hurt and they drop down and have the opportunity to get a franchise player. Yep. That team was in the playoffs, 19 straight years? It's like the New England Patriots of the NBA. And it's even harder to do in the NBA, I think, because of the roster movements. You have such a small team. You have to really, your pieces have to be greater in the NBA than they necessarily have to be in NFL because you've got 11 guys on each side of the ball. So if you got one guy that's not that great, it's like 1 out of 11.
Hide him,
you know, you hide him. You can't really hide anybody in the NBA because they will exploit that weakness. And we've seen them exploit Draymond's weakness by playing 4-on-5. Yeah. And we see a lot of Ben Simmons trade talk. You think 4-on-5 is bad in the fourth quarter? How about 3-on-5? Yeah. That would be ridiculous.
I wouldn't want anything to do with him. And especially the same people complaining about Kuminga. I don't know why you would want Ben Simmons. It just seems like a lesser version, to be honest with you, as far as ceiling versus what
we've seen Ben Simmons ceiling. And it's great on defense.
Yeah. And I think something else to remind the fans about is I'm glad you mentioned the money because this team is well into the luxury tax.
Oh, my God.
Well into it. It's sort of a little bit of a curse of having the big 3 that they have. Okay, we need to keep them. Keep this core. Yeah, right, exactly. So this is what you have to do. You have to fill in. It's hard to get free agents fiscally even. So you're going to rely. It's fortunate with this luxury tax situation and even the hard cap situation they're in that they have had these high picks because you can fill in with some talented players versus, the 28th, 29th, 30th pick of the first round. You're able to have guys pick 7th, 14th, second overall to fill these roles. And they do a good enough job to hit on the Juan Toscano-Andersons of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough of them. It looked like when Jordan Poole was struggling, that was going to be a miss, but you get the little kid at some time in AAA, if you will.
Yeah.
And now look at him. He's kind of a critical rotation piece who filled in real nicely for Steph at times last year.
Yeah, and the big knock on Bob Myers, he's missed on picks. No, he has not missed on picks.
Yeah.
He's taking chances with where he was drafting.
Yeah.
And you can't draft at the very bottom 1, 2 in the first round and expect those to be starters in the league.
Yeah.
If they are, great. But they're not likely going to be.
Yeah.
And to find anything in the second round is such a crapshoot that it's not realistic to think picking in the second round, bottom 2 in the first, that you're going to be hitting on these guys and they're going to be starting for your team. That's just not, you're going to find the Juan Toscano-Andersons. The Draymond Green is the diamond in the rough in the second round. That's happened once.
Yeah, seriously.
Especially since then. Yeah. Like, he is the kind of the benchmark for your diamond in the rough second rounder.
Yeah.
And it's just, I hear, Smiley Geach, this and that. And it's like, they took a chance on a kid that he had some ability, but you never really thought he was going to be an NBA player.
That Euro forward thing.
Yeah, and you're not. They're honestly in those picks. They're not trying to pick a core for their future, and you just have to understand that as a fan. Like, that does not make sense from a business standpoint. And the luxury tax, I want you to understand. They are so far into the luxury tax. They spend $5 for every dollar on the contract.
Yeah, man.
$5 for every dollar of a contract. And you guys want them to bring in somebody that's making $20 million a year?
Yeah.
That's going to be $100 million just for one season. And you're not understanding that. Joe Lacob will spend money. We've seen him spend money. He's been in luxury tax for 3 or 4 years?
Yes.
Spending money. But he's also a businessman, and there's none chance he's going to spend $100 million on a $20 million player. It's just not. That's just
it does
dumb.
make sense. Yeah. At some point, they'll try to correct the tax situation.
Yeah,
It's just going to have to happen.
They'll come into it, and with this Steph extension, it's going to push that timeline out a little bit,
right?
Because that was a huge extension, highest paid player by contract in the NBA history. With these two
$200 million
back-to-back
deals. Yeah.
That's more than LeBron, everybody. And so it's going to be some time. Draymond's under his $100 million a year. Clay's chilling and is going to be coming back, but. So you're not going to be able to make the types of moves that you think that they are. And look at the San Francisco Giants. This team potentially has the potential to fall off like the Giants did with their core, their aging core, with these bloated contracts because you rewarded them for what they gave you, but it's not sustainable for the future. That's why these 3 rookies developing behind your core 3 are so important, because they're not making that big money.
Yeah.
And they're going to allow you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more breathing room that this core 3 didn't allow you before. And so I can see the potential to be a San Francisco Giants where all the fans are complaining about these bloated contracts.
Right.
If I hear one fan ever bash Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, or even Draymond Green because of his contract in his later years, we're fighting. It's fisticuffs on site. On site. I am 6'2", 200 pounds, and I know how to fight. I'm trained. You're going to be sorry that you ever bashed them.
I'm gonna bring that down here. Yeah. So with that cap and luxury tax situation, you have to fill in with some youngsters. They had their mid-level exception, and they definitely tried to go get Patty Mills and Rudy Gay, and they tried, and so that brings me to maybe one area to address with Warriors fans, that this is not a destination for a veteran coming to looking to win a championship. Well, Patty Mills went to the Nets because he sees that's the place to potentially win a championship. Okay, Rudy Gay chose the Jazz because he sees that as a potential place to. No, the people don't see the Warriors as that anymore. It's like, okay, well, when Klay Thompson was, when the Splash Brothers were together, that's when this was that destination.
Did they push to a 7th game in 2019 with a skeleton roster?
Yeah, and missed the playoffs by a game last year.
Yeah.
Without, again, and even Oubre, who they tried to have fill in, ends up getting hurt. And Steph's banged up near the end. Wiseman's hurt. So I can't say that they're not that destination. Do they need to prove it via perception with a playoff run again? Sure. I'll feel you there. But I feel like a healthy Klay changes all of that. It just really does for me. Wiseman being able to finish his rookie year changes a lot of that for me. Oubre not being hurt near the end would have changed things when he was still around. So I think you have to keep that in mind. Okay, they don't see them as a championship destination. That could be changed easily.
Yeah, and
very
half a
easily.
season.
Very easily. And to where that mid-level exception gets used in the buyout market as you're into the season. I think fans hand-wring about that, the dynasty being over. Like, okay, 2016, they're able to sign Durant. 2018, get Boogie, get DeMarcus Cousins on a mid-level exception. From Bob Myers. That was a moment in time, but now there's good, healthy competition. We were the favorites, and we got first crack at these people. People pick up the phone when we call. They talk to us. They think about us. You win some ties, you lose some. But to think it's going to be like that, it's probably not going to be. That was very unique moment in time.
Yes.
Okay, so appreciate that for what it is. It just doesn't always last forever. It doesn't mean it's over. There are ebbs and flows. The Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl every year. Those 80s Niners didn't win the Super Bowl every year. It just doesn't, it's not quite, basketball can happen a little more often, but even though Celtics and Lakers didn't win the title every year, what I'm saying?
Spurs didn't win every year.
Exactly.
Kobe, for as great as he was, didn't win every year, Yeah. And another thing that Bob said last week on the radio was, you guys act like we're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the first quarter. The season doesn't start until, October? There's plenty of time, especially in the buyout market. And we've already seen them make moves. They brought in Bielitsa, who I actually think is going to be a good piece. And I'm blanking on the other guy they brought in.
I'm perfectly fine if Porter's healthy.
Yes, yeah.
Otto Porter
is the other guy.
Was a guy who is a 40% three-point shooter. It's just, okay, his last 2 years have been banged up. All right. Yeah. It happens.
So with those two, and they also brought in Andre Iguodala, which I thought maybe...
You kind of know what you're getting there.
I've kind of thought in a front office role.
Yeah.
But he's going to be out there, and he's not going to give you a ton of minutes, but he's going to be a great leader in that locker room. Plus, kind of getting the band back together. Klay's coming back. It's going to have such a good vibe in that locker room, which fans also don't understand when you want to make all these big free agent moves and this push for that guy. It's also about chemistry. It's about culture. It's about vibe in the locker room. And every championship team, for the most part, in almost every sport, has that. They have that carefree, that fun, that we're down to business, but we also love playing with each other.
Yeah.
And that's just something that doesn't often get talked about in sports talk radio.
Yeah, and that matters. Roles matter. Again, we talked about it with the draft picks. You can't draft 12. You can't have 12 scorers.
No.
A team of 12 scorers isn't going to work. And that other FM station we were talking about was trying to slam signing Iguodala like he's not going to give you that much. And then luckily somebody else on the show corrected him, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was the old school station, one of those two. But like, what's he get his minutes? Well, he played 21.3 minutes per game last year. So I just remember that. And then it's like, remember when you had to correct folks? People think Klay scores 30 a game. Nah, he's 19-ish, and it's important. An important 19. I don't know if people thought Iguodala scored 17 a game here with the Warriors. His peak was 9.3 per game. His last year with the Warriors was 5.5. 4.5 with Miami these past 2 years. This is average. It's just the perception of what people had in their mind. He played 63 games. I think he's going to give them what they need in that role.
It's not much. And with Andre Iguodala, it is the intangibles on the court.
Amen.
His ability to be able to help Draymond direct traffic or direct traffic if Draymond's taking a breather. Mm-hmm. Andre plays defense, but he's shifty.
Yeah.
He's not as quick as he used to be. And honestly, his IQ, he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's
he 2015, he was getting finals MVP votes. Did he even score the ball like in 2015? Like that wasn't what was asked of him. That wasn't what he needed to do. And that just wasn't what he brought to the floor. Now, if he gives you 15 minutes a game this year, that actually kind of would be a little bit worrisome to me because he shouldn't have to be on the court for that long. Now, if it's, if it's here and there, he hits 15, 20 minutes a game here and there, I just don't want him averaging that because that says a lot more about the rest of your pieces not being able to be on the floor.
Okay.
Because he shouldn't be getting that much run, I don't think, at this point in his career.
Remember how it was about matchups with him.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
What he's able to do against certain
on
people.
this small forward, that sort of thing. Yeah, that was what it was about with him. So the only thing where I was disappointed with the Warriors, I did say, okay, being able to sign and trade Oubre is kind of what the offseason hinges on. Can they get something for that? Now I see, folks from Fansided and these blogs and these places, no quotes from anybody in the front office.
Never.
But just shredding them for, how could they not pull this move? You just let him walk away. You got nothing for him. You think they didn't try? You can't just make the video game say yes to you like you could do. Oh, let me switch controllers real quick. It doesn't work that way in real life. But people know he's going to walk. It's different than the Durant situation where that was kind of out of the goodness of his heart, to be honest with you.
He signed and traded before, like he signed and then was traded.
Yeah.
Now, like you mentioned, and even Bob said, hey, you don't think we picked up the phone and tried to call somebody to do a sign and trade? When a player says, that it looks like they're going to be out, it looks like they're just going to walk because that's their right at the end of their contract. What are you going to offer for that?
Yeah.
Seriously. And I think Oubre had a pretty good season last year. He started off slow. He started off slow, and then he really caught fire. Like, you guys don't understand the second half of the season, he was shooting 43% from three.
Yeah, he was.
Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, and then he got hurt to finish the season. If he was there, I mean, they could have won the play-in game. They could have been in the playoffs with just Kelly Oubre. Because you know what? He has heart. He plays with energy, and he plays with he tries. He plays with effort.
Oh, and he's a skilled player. There's a ton of skill there too. And he tried to soldier through 2 different injuries.
And he was a high draft pick.
Yeah.
So you don't always hit on high draft picks. Just like there's almost no chance you're going to hit on low draft picks. So I had no problem with Oubre walking. I wanted to see him stay, honestly, because I would have liked to see him play with a healthy Warriors team. I would like to see him play healthy. Yeah. But the fact that he's gone, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But to say that they just let him walk just shows your lack of understanding and just how not smart you are.
Gig that feels kind of like what you were hunting for here.
It is, absolutely. I had a gig fall through, which is okay. I regrouped. I gave myself 2 hours to be down about it. I sent out 30 resumes the next day.
Boom! Wow.
And I was shooting my shot from Santa Elena to San Francisco.
Man.
And my shot that I really wanted in Santa Elena hit. Okay. So they offered me the job. It made me an extra $13,000 a year by losing out on the other one, which is never a bad thing. So I'll be managing at the Charter Oak. The Charter Oak's chef is Chef Christopher Costow. Christopher Costow is a 3 Michelin star chef from Meadowood.
Okay.
He opened in 2016. He opened the Charter Oak. It's his own project, whereas Meadowood, there's a little bit more influence. But 3 Michelin star, and that'll be opening again next year when Meadowood gets rebuilt. It was lost in a fire last year. And so I will be at this project. And he's got other projects. He's also got a restaurant in China.
Man.
If I, eventually want to go out to China for a month and actually work over there would be fantastic. But it's a really great opportunity. I was worried about the trajectory of my resume. I've always made a step up, and I can always explain why going to different places. And this is definitely a step up compared to where I had been. And it's either a step up or absolutely on par. So I'm not taking these steps back like I would have been. And it's a really great opportunity for me.
Very nice. I want to use these last few minutes here on the Fitz Blitz to talk about a big career change for me. Do you remember November 2019? God, it was the first time we were trying video format with the camera over there to our left. It's on my YouTube, on the Tim Fitzgerald YouTube. It's the first one. At least I'm putting up on YouTube. I think some of the others have gone to Facebook already. We were trying the live format for a while. We had Brian Brownfield on. At the time, Brian was SID at Menlo down in Atherton.
Yes.
Which was at one point in the same conference as Cal Maritime. And the women's basketball team had just played Cal Maritime, and the men's team was about to. So in this little perfect window in between. So we had Brian on when he was still at Menlo to talk about it. On that episode of the show, we have the screen capture of you and I, our surprised faces. He announced he had accepted a job at St. Mary's College.
Yep.
Right there. That was the first, when he went public with it, was right here on the Fitz Blitz last November of 2019. And he recently got promoted at St. Mary's. So somebody left there. He gets promoted, so his old spot becomes available. So I check in with him. Hey, let me know if something comes up. He's like, yeah, my old spot. So, I get into that. Okay, let me get the special cover letter over to you guys. I got a resume ready to go. So I do that, and this was kind of like, oh wow, this is actually where I know somebody. There's a good acquaintance here, a friend over there that versus I'm just an application coming through in the NCAA forms that are in there.
It always helps to know people.
Right. Especially in this industry that we're in here with the talk and sports media. So they needed somebody to fill in Brian's old spot. And therefore, the new director of communications for St. Mary's Athletics is me, Tim Fitzgerald.
Yes. I love it.
So a huge jump up to a D1 mid-major and be on the West Coast Conference Network. I'll be SIDing both genders of soccer, women's basketball, golf, tennis, and baseball.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, back in baseball. And as long as I have the stat keeping covered, all the jobs covered for those sports, there's broadcast opportunities. Brian was broadcasting baseball games there when he'd had, dedicated scorekeeper. Sometimes he'd be the commentator, at least on the broadcast, while scoring the game. We'd see Damian Esper do that with the Admirals. So that's an option there. But for the sports I'm not SIDing, there are broadcast opportunities. And then it turns out a friend of a friend, my guy Joe Quinn, a friend of his, is part of the Learfield properties there. And Learfield owns Sidearm Sports, that is the website company that most of the big schools use. And they are also, of course, in charge of broadcasts and who they hire for the broadcasts. He's an A's fan who sent a video to my friend Joe Quinn of him tipsy one night watching an A's game. And it's the Scott Van Pelt version of SportsCenter, and Liam Hendricks is still closing it out. So, the gas face. My friend Joe takes that, turns it into a beat, turns it into a hip hop beat, asked me to rap over it. I do. Gosh. I put a verse on it.
Nice.
And we send it to him, and he loved it. It turns out he works at St. Mary's too. So he's already heard me rap a song specifically to him, for him, over at the Learfield properties section of it. So a huge jump up for me. I'm pretty elated. I almost gotta thank my new daughter, Leia, for somewhat reinvigorating me. The fact that she's around made me go, instead of just climbing up another Cal State and retiring in Sicily, let me try to go big time again. Let me try to be a famous broadcaster again. This puts me another step closer in threatening range now to maybe being on ESPN2 here or there, maybe being on Comcast for when they pick up a WCC game. Now, that's not going to happen right away or anything. There's a pecking order for that. But nonetheless, it's I jumped up 2 levels, and it's a chance to maybe work my way into networks to get promoted within St. Mary's. Like, that's not nothing either, because we saw Brian do it. I mean, there are 7 people in external affairs alone at St. Mary's versus 1 guy at Cal Maritime trying to do all of that. And I was probably as high as I could get at Cal Maritime. You're the SID, you're the SID. They'd have to hire somebody else below me full-time and then make my position kind of something new. You know what I'm saying? They have to create something new for me that I don't know if it was feasible or what. So it'll be nice to be able to be a little more focused, make some more money, really focus on covering the games, not to have it all on me as I'm in the interview. I'm like, well, I do this and this and that and this and that. And they're like, well, you won't have to do that here. You won't have to do that here. You won't have to do that here. But you will make $8 to $12 more a year.
There you go.
Like, starts off with 8 more a year, then goes up to 12 more after the new year. So, huge jump for me. I've been just elated all week. I was on cloud 9 for days. And I'm pretty excited. I know this trickles down to yourself, to Chris, on other opportunities that I can offer again, as I have before.
Yeah.
So we all eat in this sense a little bit. So, and that will involve some changes to this show, how much longer I can do this show in this way, being here in studio, a full 2-hour format on a specific date. May undergo some changes that we'll keep you updated on, and how many more shows of this format will be around. We'll keep you posted on that. But right now, just kind of reveling in this move up to a D1 mid-major, and I'll start there on the 30th. My last day at Cal Maritime will be the 25th.
Congratulations. And I could not be happier for you. I made a post about a buddy that's is going to be coaching now for the T-Wolves that I went to high school with. I cannot be happier for those around me that are winning, that they do make a move like this. Even our buddy Chris Zavaglia will be broadcasting some Stockton Ports games over the Memorial Day.
He'll get the Labor Day series, with Alex Jensen out of town. So Chris is going to get a chance to make some play-by-play on affiliated baseball.
Yes, how big is that? Yeah. And I'm just so excited at everybody around me, making these steps in their careers and really holding on to it. And I'm going back to restaurants, but my dream of broadcasting may be alive, and still some things in the works there. So another congratulations to Timmy Fitz.
Thank you very much. It's great. It's great feeling. Again, we'll have more on what changes will happen with the show. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll be right back here next week on the Blitz, week from today, one more time at least, on the 23rd. What's today? Today is the 16th. Yeah, so the 23rd. My math checks out. How about that? All right, that'll do it for this episode of The Blitz. Be sure to hit me up on Twitter at TimmyFitz76. Hit up Steven.
Babsports, BABBSPORTS.